It's the housing market update. Stay tuned. So this was a really interesting piece. What will the housing market look like next year in 2022? I know it's always on the mind for everyone because we all live in a house. We're all maybe looking to move, stay in our house, refinance, right? So a housing decision can always be a big impact in our financial lives. And Redfin came out and published this market predictions for 2022. So I wanted to kind of go through that and see what they were thinking 2022 would look like. Not that this is the exact science of exactly how it's going to go, but just maybe give us some insight as to some of the questions I've gotten and heard. So one of the biggest predictions that they're making is that the mortgage rates for 2022 will go up, right? Right now, they're probably on average around 3%. Here around Orange County, I've seen some lower, around 2.6, some as low as 2.3, depending on the term of your mortgage, if you're refinancing. So some of the mortgage rates they believe will increase, and they're kind of attributing a lot of that to supply and inflation. And I think a lot of the interest rates, because of what the Fed's thinking of doing next year, will kind of lift the mortgage rates along with it. And they kind of point this out in this graph about, hey, look, the end of declining mortgage interest rates. And it's actually very interesting, right? All the way back from 2021, it's plus 8%, and you've seen it come down since then. And we've kind of had this interesting economic cycle throughout that, but we've really been in this low mortgage interest rate for, I don't know, since somewhere around 2013, right? At least that's what they're showing here, of 2012, 2013. Some things kind of bounced up to around 5%, and then ever since 2019, they've come down to some of the lowest levels we've ever seen. So they're thinking that a lot of the interest rate movement will probably go up, and again, it remains to be seen. They also think that some of the existing home sale pricing growth will start to come down a little bit. Basically, this huge run up that we've seen in home prices in the last 18 months, they feel like it's probably not going to continue. And that was some of what our kind of thoughts have been in the last couple of months, that as some of the supply maybe comes back, you'll start to see some of the house prices stabilize. Not necessarily that we're in a bubble, but the idea that the increase on prices can't go on like this forever, right? I mean, they're saying it was something like a almost 24% increase this year, which is just crazy. So to that, and how they get to some of those conclusions are, they think some of the supply will start to ramp up, right? And so they're thinking, even though they will ramp up, they say right here, it's hardly going to make a dent in the ongoing supply. And we've seen that, in the past couple of months, a lot of the new home builders haven't really ramped things back up, right? They're still at pretty low levels, meaning the supply is still very low. And when you have low supply and you have high demand, right, that's what's driving a lot of the prices up. So until we get more supply coming online, it's still going to be much of the same in terms of where things stand. And that's kind of the argument they're making here, is that even though some of the supply is coming back up, it doesn't feel like it's going to be enough. And they pointed out that, they'll think it'll surpass 2018 high of 7.6 and maybe get back to something like we were in 2012 in terms of new supply. Now, if you are renting, there's a case around the rents going up, and they think, year over year with the home prices increasing, people who are renting out homes or just have rent in general, they'll see their landlords look to increase the rent because they can as housing becomes scarce. So it's harder to find a place to rent. Therefore, these landlords can start to increase prices because they know that people are really trying to find a place to live, and if there's not a lot of supply out there, they're kind of willing to pay those prices just to get into a house. And so they're predicting something like 7% for 2022. They also think there's going to be some relocating. Obviously that happens every year. So they're kind of thinking maybe these are some of the areas they might move to as things become less pricey in those particular areas, and they kind of show some of the user change throughout those different areas. A big factor for us here in Orange County, obviously. They also think that people might move based on their based on politics and kind of where they fall on some of the different things that are being talked about. So they also believe condo demand will take off, and they attribute that to the condo prices haven't increased as fast as single family houses. And it's interesting, actually, when you look around Orange County here, you'll see a lot more of the townhome, condo style places being built. And so with the condo demand prediction, that might, resonate a lot more with, us here in Orange County. And you see that too, right? They say right here at the same time, California and Oregon made it easier to build multiple homes on lots that were just reserved for single family homes. So I think you'll probably see a lot more of that. People trying to shift into some of the condos because of the prices haven't been astronomical as they were for the single family homes. And they're kind of pointing to the data here and saying, hey, look, a lot of the safe searches were based on single family homes. A lot less than what it has been in the past. The next two predictions are also around some of the political issues that they think may affect where people end up moving to. I'm not sure that really plays a huge factor. Most of the clients I talk to, they may move for a political reason, but I don't think that's the base case for why someone moves. I think someone moves to be closer more to the grandkids, to a location, a weather location that maybe suits their lifestyle better, or just overall lifestyle, right? Mountainous, snow, beach, sand, right? I think those are the big reasons why people move, not necessarily political issues, because political issues can be so far reaching in different areas. So I'm not sure I agree with some of these predictions, although people may move based on those, but they're kind of saying that people might ask a little bit more questions around, did some house flood? What are the issues around these houses in terms of how they're insured and what natural disasters may affect them? And then the last two predictions are around the technology shift in this space in real estate. Specifically, this prediction list is from Redfin, who has taken on a huge undertaking of building out this, hey, how do you search, how do you find houses, and being able to list houses in-house through Redfin. There's Redfin agents, and you can find houses just through this portal instead of the old school finding the MLS listing, contacting an agent so you have access to that, right, and getting research and figuring it all out through the agent. And so a lot of the predictions in 9 and 10 is they've talked about, buyers being able to be more the ones researching, analyzing, looking at properties on their own rather than enlisting an agent. And so they're saying that the Department of Justice might start cracking down on how the agents are paid if, in most cases, the buyers are the ones who can do a lot of the research. They might look to pay the agent up front and not necessarily, pay the buyer and the selling agent at closing. So they're kind of bringing that up as that might come under scrutiny, and some of how the agents are paid may change. I don't really know if that's going to be the case, especially in 2022. That might be something down the road, but in any event, they're kind of talking to the idea of technology is changing how we're buying homes. And they're saying that if we're doing most of the research on our end, and maybe we end up just using an agent to get exclusive access to a specific area of homes that isn't available to anyone else, or they come alongside when we found the house and they kind of help us close the deal. So that's kind of what they're saying, that it looks like to them some of the market shifting towards that type of model where technology has created an infrastructure that us as a consumer or buyer or seller can go out and do a lot more research and analyze things, and then use an agent secondary to that. Market predictions. They think interest rates, and it's kind of funny when I looked at this, it was kind of resonating a lot with me because those are some of the things that I've kind of seen, at least in looking at some of these things. And not that I'm making any predictions, but it looks like some interest rates may start rising next year. Supply side does need to come up because houses are still selling like crazy. Prices have definitely gone up, and you've seen that in your home values and home equities. So it doesn't really look like, at least through some of the data with the home builders, that a lot of supply is changing, which means we might be in this space for a little bit longer, maybe 6 months, 8 months. But it kind of remains to be seen as inflation kicks in and just what people are doing around the pandemic, right? That was a lot of the big shift, was people being able to move because technology made it possible for them to work virtually, and that kind of shifted a lot of the landscape around just homes in general. So it'll be interesting to see what the future holds in this space. The mortgage interest rates definitely won't stay this low forever. At some point they're going to have to come back up to some of their averages around 4%. So definitely look to see some of that happening. If it happens in the near term, so be it. But in any event, that's kind of the update around housing. I thought it was interesting. I hope you found that as interesting as I did. As always, if you got questions, comments, concerns, please let us know. If you like this video, give it a like, subscribe if you aren't already, and enjoy the rest of your day.